We've all had that nagging thought, right? Is all this generative AI just making us lazy, turning our brains into mush? Well, what if I told you the opposite could be true? What if we could actually use these tools to become even smarter? That's what we're going to dig into, because the secret, it turns out, isn't really about the AI at all. It's about us. But this anxiety over new technology is nothing new. In fact, it's ancient. We're talking over 2,000 years ago, Socrates had the exact same fear about a wild new technology called writing. Yep, he was totally convinced it would wreck our memories and make our minds weak. Sound familiar? It's literally the same debate we're having today, just with a different tool. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at that ancient fear and how it's back. Then we'll get into the real cognitive cost of AI. After that, we're going to flip the script and see AI as a tool, not a shortcut, which will lead us straight into how to collaborate with it smarter. And finally, we'll talk about why keeping both AI and ourselves sharp is a bigger deal than you might think. Let's jump in. Right, so that ancient fear. Obviously, we know how the whole writing thing turned out. Socrates was wrong. It can actually boost our memory. But that core suspicion he had, that feeling about tools that do our thinking for us, that has never, ever gone away. The argument just moved from the scroll to the screen. Okay, but here's the crucial difference. Socrates was working with theories, but today we have data. And that data is starting to hint that using AI passively, just letting it do the work, might come with a very real cognitive price tag. So let's actually unpack the science behind why that might be happening. It all boils down to this concept called cognitive offloading. And trust me, it's something you do all day, every day. Making a shopping list, setting a calendar reminder, that's you offloading the mental chore of remembering something so your brain is free to focus on more important stuff. It's a fantastic trick we've used forever, but there's a catch. And here is the catch, which researcher Lauren Richmond explains so well. The second you offload a task, your brain basically goes, okay, cool, not my job anymore, and hits delete. Just think about that grocery list. If you write it down but you leave it on the kitchen counter, you're completely lost. You'll remember less than if you'd never made the list in the first place, because your brain already outsourced the job. And this isn't just a hunch. We see it in studies all the time. In one, people at a museum who took photos of the art remembered less about it. They let their phone do the remembering for them. In another, even wilder study, our offloaded memories turned out to be super easy to manipulate. When a fake word was secretly added to a list people had typed up, they later swore it was on the original list all along. Our outsourced memory is surprisingly fragile. And this is why generative AI is such a huge leap. We're not just talking about it holding our shopping list. It's doing the actual thinking for us, the exploring, the connecting of ideas, the synthesizing. What we're in danger of offloading now isn't just a simple fact. It's the entire process of discovery itself. And we're already seeing some pretty startling hints of the potential fallout. A study by Michael Gerlich is a major wake-up call. He found that younger people who reported relying more on AI had critical thinking scores that were a whopping 45% lower than older participants. Now, let's be super clear. This is a correlation, not causation, but it points to a trend that Gerlich worries is cognitive laziness. Okay, but this isn't a story about robot overlords and the end of thinking. Not at all. This is where we pivot. Because the problem isn't the technology itself. It never has been. The problem is how we choose to use it. So let's talk about the solution. This quote from Lauren Richmond it absolutely nails it. We are the ones in control here. The power to turn AI from a mental crutch into a mental workout partner is completely, 100% in our hands. The big question is, how do we actually do that? And that brings us to the real meat of this whole explainer, the practical playbook. We're going to talk about how to build what the philosopher Andy Clark calls a better hybrid cognition, a really powerful partnership between your amazing human brain and this incredible machine. It all starts with a simple mindset shift. Andy Clark's advice here is perfect. He says to treat AI like that one specific colleague at work. You know who I'm talking about. The one who sometimes has an idea that is pure genius, but other times comes up with something that is completely bonkers. You wouldn't just blindly trust everything they say, right? Of course not. You listen, you engage, and you stay critical. So here it is, the playbook for a smarter AI collaboration. Number one, and this is the big one, think first. Before you even touch the keyboard, figure out your own ideas. Research from MIT shows this keeps all the connections in your brain firing at full capacity. Two, be critical. Just like with that quirky colleague, fact check everything. AI gets things wrong. A lot. Three, avoid the anchor. Don't ask it for a conclusion because that will bias your thinking from the start. Ask it for the raw facts so you can build the argument. And finally, my favorite, number four, challenge the AI. Flip the script, make it your sparring partner. Ask it to poke holes in your own logic. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at the lazy prompt on the left. You're basically asking the AI to drive the car and tell you where you're going. You're just a passenger. That's pure cognitive offloading. But the smart prompt on the right, that puts you in the driver's seat. You get the raw materials, you form your own ideas, and then you use the AI as a challenger to make your own thinking even stronger. You're not outsourcing the journey, you're augmenting it. So you might be thinking, okay, cool, these are good personal habits, but why does it matter beyond that? Well, it turns out our individual choices here have a massive collective impact on the future of AI itself. This gets way bigger than just you and your screen. There's this emerging danger that researchers are calling model collapse. Think about it like this. AI models learn by reading the internet, which up until recently was almost all written by humans. But what happens when we all start using AI to rate our articles, our emails, our code? The internet starts filling up with AI-generated mush. The AI is then forced to learn from its own weird reflection. It becomes an echo chamber, and the models get blander, more repetitive, and dumber. Which leads us to this pretty profound realization. Every single time you choose to think for yourself, to create something original, to write something new and interesting, you're not just exercising your own brain, you're feeding the entire AI ecosystem. Our unique, weird human creativity is the lifeblood that keeps these powerful tools from basically starving to death. So in the end, it all comes down to this one question. Every time we use these tools, every prompt we write, we are actively training them. We're teaching them what matters. We're showing them how to think. So the real question isn't just about how we can use AI to be smarter. It's about what kind of intelligence, both ours and the AI's, we actually want to build together for the future.